Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Health In Show, an affiliate program of Homeopathy World Community. I am your host, Debby Bruck, founder of the social network for homeopaths, Homeopathy World Community, with our co-host, Dr. Deepak Sharma of Orbit's Clinic and Homeopathy Web Online. And he is calling in from India, from New Delhi today, and we're so pleased to have him. And don't forget to refresh your screen if you're watching an old show. I don't know whether you would know if you were watching the archives. We are going to get started today. We have a really big show prepared for you, learning about homeopathic remedies dealing with trauma and floods and hurricanes. And for those folks who are out there and want to participate, we have the live chat, and we also have the call in to, if you're in the United States, 919-518-9773, and if you're on Skype at Computers 2K Voice. And so I might just refresh my screen to make sure I'm doing okay. And I see that we already have quite a few folks. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to wave to Marinda, Diagoni, Valerian, Kavitha, Sony, and all of our friends who have been listening for a long time. So, Dr. Deepak, are you with us today? And congratulations on the opening of your volunteer goodwill clinic.
Thank you so much. And these are all your blessings, Debbie. And hope everyone is fine in the US. And congratulations for your president also. And hello, everyone. And the website you are holding is homeopathyonweb.com. That is
Homeopathy on Web.
Onweb.com.
Thank you.
So.
Okay, there you go. We can really see you much better now. I believe we already have a caller at the beginning of the show. If we want to get started that way, this will be a first. Hello, caller.
Hey, Debbie, this is Kavitha Kokumar. How are you?
I am fine, Kavitha. I want to send you thanks and gratitude for helping me prepare for today and helping me study these remedies that are so important to recovery and relief.
Thank you so much, Debbie, and happy Veterans Day to everyone.
Thank you. And we're going to get started with our first slide that just says, yes, today is Monday, November 12th, 2012. And yesterday I put up on Hub Pages a poem for Veterans Day. And I'm going to just read what it says in the news. With respect for and in recognition of the contributions our service members have made to the cause of peace and freedom around the world, the Congress has provided that November 11th, which was yesterday, of each year, shall be set aside as a legal public holiday to honor our nation's veterans. Now, therefore, I, and not me, Barack Obama, stated, President of the United States of America, he hereby proclaimed that November 11th, 2012, as Veterans Day. And we in America are celebrating Monday as the federal holiday since it fell on the weekend. I also want to wish Dr. Deepak and all of the friends who are celebrating Diwali, Festival of Lights. This is a 4-day Hindu celebration. This time that we think about bringing light into times of darkness, bringing joy and goodness at the harvest season. So are you frying some good foods, Dr. Deepak, eating some fried foods?
Yes, we are distributing the sweets all among the friends and among the relatives, and we are celebrating with the lights, and the lights everywhere in your room, in your house, in your city, in your country. And this is the biggest festival in India, and it is an indication of the winter coming of the winter vacations in India.
And Kavitha, are you still with us?
Yes, Debbie.
Are you going to be frying some little noodles?
Yes, Debbie. Still, I'm doing the Indian way of style, the snacks and the sweets and the lights in front of the house.
Very nice. Well, I might try to cook up some of that gram flour and rice flour and see how it tastes. And also, something interesting that I learned in my studies is that the Great Flood, the one from Noah, ended on this day in history in 2104 BCE. It was written in Genesis 26:12, which is read on this day. And so it's pretty apropos that we are talking about relief from the hurricane that has occurred along the East Coast, and also there's been some in India. We're going to look at some slides that I've prepared. On slide number 2, natural disasters can occur around the world. Hurricanes, floods, monsoons, tornadoes, cyclones, and following Hurricane Sandy, we saw winter snow, ice, and possibly hail. In the other parts of the world, tropical rain, earthquakes, forest fires out west. Smoke can devastate an area, tsunami, and drought. And then I put a quote from Hillary Clinton. Oftentimes, when you face such an overwhelming challenge as global climate change, it can be somewhat daunting. It's kind of like trying to lose weight, which I know something about. And so global climate change seems so huge, so big and encompassing that it's not really something that you can get a hold of and understand. But losing weight is something we're all grappling with, something that every day we need to get under control, something that we have to do self-care. And in the same way, global climate change is something that we acknowledge. It is real. Our weather patterns are changing. We're going to see more of these natural disasters, and we need to get it under control and take some kinds of action. I also wanted to mention that since today is Veterans Day, this is not on a slide, since today is Veterans Day, there are many similarities between what happens to soldiers and veterans after war, during war, as for hurricane and flood victims that are devastated by PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, homelessness, unemployment, grief, loss from their material goods, from their memorabilia from their lifetime, the photographs that they treasure, financial loss of the incredible medical expenses that they will incur. They have a loss of security and perhaps could feel hopelessness. They begin self-medication. It's as if their foundation crumbles and disappears underneath them. So when we talk today about all these remedies, we're going to see many, many similarities in the remedies that would be used for homecoming veterans, families of veterans, and also these victims of natural disaster. I want to really state loud and clear that homeopathy is only one component of recovery. There are a lot of other things that must take place. In slide number 3, Dr. Deepak Sharma, we have in slide number 3 just a quick listing, because I do want to get to the remedies today, of the types of things that we are seeing around the world. I know that in America we see mostly the United States devastation, and we hear about Hurricane Sandy. But do you want to talk a moment about what else is happening around the world?
Yes, basically when we are studied about the patients of suffering from the hurricane or any disaster in the world, the first complaint is the shock. Everyone who see the flood in emergency or suddenly, and he gets the patient gets a shock emergency, and then we are using the aconite as a first kind of remedy. The shock may be the loss of innocence, the sadness, and despair, irritability. You
Slide
told
number
about that.
4. Good. Keep going. So we have in the slide we have the immediate response is shock, and the previous slide that we had was incidents around the world of devastation. Whether it is the UK that is expecting to have some bad weather coming in this winter, they're expecting more winter floods. And in San Marcos in Guatemala, there was a 7.4 magnitude earthquake just this week. Venice's high seawaters flooding. And think about the history of that place on the planet. Burma just had on Sunday a 6.8 magnitude earthquake. And of course, the Pakistanis have had 5 million people struggling through successive recurrences of massive floods in the area. Floods have swept through the Philippines, and even in Russia, they have flash floods. 144 were killed in Krasnodar region. Of course, we know Chennai, India, just had the tropical storms. So one of the signs that I saw in the images online were people are painting words on their houses. And it said, and you just saw on that last slide, one of them was one filled with hope. It said, quote, "You can take our home, but you can't take our hearts." And some people kind of think, well, other people are cursing and angry and grief-stricken. This is one form of response, of rebellion, of fighting back. So, Dr. Deepak, you just did list a whole...
That is the specialty of homeopathy, and that can treat these symptoms. Nobody can understand how the irritability can give to a physical symptom, or how a loss or anger or violence can give a such physical type of complaints. Then the homeopathy is the best for these type of shocks. These are the acute shocks, and when we are talking about the acute shock, the aconite napellus is a plant remedy, is really good working. And if we are talking about the deep shocks and the chronic shocks, then the medicine will be a opium. Opium will be a good remedy. And for the immediate response shock, protective mechanism of the body puts the body into stasis. Emotional shock is the body's response to extreme fear, stress, pain, or helplessness. It is also known as acute stress reaction. Symptom includes the disorientation, confusions, forgetfulness, agitations, restlessness. He is feeling always tiring. He is always feeling sleeplessness. He always feeling the days around there. And the patient can get the loss of memory also. The tremendous, for why Dr. Rao say, the tremendous potential of homeopathy in the prevention of viral disease has remained largely untapped by the medical profession.
Right, and Dr. Rao has done that quote that I just got from the Similia website, where we have had in the past on the Health In Show a number of discussions about homeoprophylaxis, about infectious and contagious disease that may occur after natural disaster, when we have a loss of sanitation, when people don't have the food and the things that they need to keep their immune system up. So we started to mention the major remedies for shock. And since we cannot talk about all of them, we're going to just name a couple of important ones. Kavita, are you with us?
Yes, Debbie.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the aconite, arnica, and gelsemium?
Okay, I'll just tell few things about those remedies. So if you look at aconite, it is the main homeopathic remedy which can be considered as per sudden shock, and they express like in fear and they're panicky, and then they release urgency. So they are very restless mentally, and they have the fear of paper, and they even tell that very time. So basically, it is after the flight, and they are very irritated, and they have some symptoms like pins and needles on their numbing.
Right, and something that maybe folks who are new to homeopathy don't realize is aconite may be used long after an incident. So if a veteran of war or if someone has had something happen to them that has been very fearful, they may remain in this state, this aconite state. Is that right, Dr. Sharma?
Yes, and Kavita is saying right. And when we are, I just told about that, when we are talking about the sudden shock, the aconite is good. But when a patient comes to us and he complain about that, I suffer from the shock from a hurricane or any disaster years long, then the opium is the best remedy.
Okay, so for chronic condition, opium homeopathically. And just
Yes.
a reminder that this is an educational program. This is informative, and you always need to see your healthcare provider. The top remedy of all remedies, most everybody knows for injury and also for shock, emotional shock, is arnica. So any type of accident, bumps, bruises, sprains, strains, cuts, it's commonly given to patients before and after, and a lot of people just say after to recover from and to improve from surgery. Many American doctors are now using it today. It's also a hard remedy, so it helps to decrease the bleeding in an open wound. Bruising, you're going to see the tissue is black and blue if you have an injury, and it helps to promote healing and remove the feeling of soreness. It can be used only on unbroken skin externally and internally in many potencies from the low to the high.
Yes, basically arnica is the good medicine for every trauma that either is emotional or physical trauma, and it acts in differently in different potencies. Like when we are using arnica 3x, 3x is a potency we are using in homeopathy. It is a well-known remedy for the heart, 3x. And when we are using a common potency that is 30, it is absolute for the bruises and blunt injuries. And if we are talking about the fractures, then we are using the arnica 200C. And if the patient comes after a week or after a month, then we are using the higher potency of the arnica. So arnica is
And we want to also
acting differently on the different place and with a different potency.
Thank you. So different potencies have different actions or work in a slightly more deep way. And we want to also emphasize, and we've got lots of information, that arnica is the #1 remedy for concussion and head injury. Then there's gelsemium sempervirens, which is for anticipation of danger, like if they announce that there's going to be an influenza season and they say rush out and do something. It's also worse from bad news if you get that phone call that something has happened to somebody in your family and the pit of your stomach drops out. And then you know that gelsemium may be good, as well as argentinite. This is for feeling paralyzed from grief, fear, or the bad news. Your body is going to be trembling. You may feel very weak and exhausted, and you don't want to speak or have anybody nearby, and you might not know what to do next. This would be a good remedy. It's also great before going to the dentist. So we're going to move on now to the next thing, unless you have an addition, Dr. Sharma.
Yes, and we are gelsemium is also used in the shock. This kind of the kind of shock is the vital fluid loss. If the blood is lost, then we are also using the acid nitricum and gelsemium in the same potency and alternate with each other. Then like that. And for the example, nitric acid 30 at the 11 o'clock, and on the next hour the gelsemium 30 is given to the patient, and the combination will act very well.
Thank you very much. So basically what you're learning about these remedies, they have many overlapping applications. So we talk about shock, we talk about injury, we talk about not being able to breathe or asphyxiation or whatever it might be. Many of the remedies are going to be applicable in a variety of conditions. So now we're going to move on to injuries, wounds, and hazardous effects. And I've put up 3 remedies. One of them is not so well known, but it is found in the repertory. It's down at the bottom of the page, Solanum mimosum, and it says specifically for flood. So this was proven by Dr. Herring in 1833. It comes from the nightshade family, the same one as belladonna, and it is a potent it's a poison in the crude form, but homeopathically, it's very healing. The chief symptoms are irritability of the mind and utter inability to think. And you can imagine if you were in a flood that you would totally be stunned. The mind is not altogether there. It's a blank. Comprehension is there, but there is a total lack of power to combine thoughts and to express them in sentences. And I mentioned it's like belladonna, that we have sleepiness without being able to sleep. It's a great remedy for sticking pains in the left hip joint specifically, and this pain gets worse during and after exercise and disappears while standing and sitting down. So if you see that, you might look to Solanum mimosum. And now we have the 2 other remedies, Dr. Sharma, Carboveg and Ledum.
The Carboveg tablet is a well-known remedy to revive those on the brink of death, called corpus reviver. Symptom of faintness, collapse, exhaustion, chilliness, cold sweat, gasping of the air. The patient is coming with this type of symptom, and he always wants the fan to for the proper circulation of the air, wanting to be fan, flatulency and distension of the abdomen, heart failure, blue or the mottled skin, sweating on the face, and then we are using the low potencies of the Carboveg tablets. It is really a wonderful life-saving drug of the homeopathy.
And we very often know it for infants who are babies being born who have not been able to get their first breath. This is why it's called corpse reviver, and perhaps people nearing death also at the end of life, it brings them back a little bit. And then we have Ledum and Kavitha.
Yeah.
Kavitha, maybe she's gone. Okay, so Ledum, many people know about Ledum, in the rosemary family, specifically for puncture wounds, needle wounds. The person becomes extremely chilly. They feel cold to the touch, but they also want to be uncovered. And yet they feel better from cold applications. These are keynote symptoms. And they even desire to put their feet into cold, icy water. They may perspire profusely at night, but cannot bear to be covered. So if you see somebody throwing the covers off, in terms of their joints, they have stiffness, and they will loosen up from cold bathing. It's quite peculiar symptoms that you're going to be looking for. The skin might be purple in color, and we also notice they'll say that the pains run upward from the lower extremities upward. It's also, ledum is a remedy for lockjaw, for insect bites in the summer, for sprains, and also for pus and abscess. Okay.
Yes, the main relevant symptom of the ledum is the pain ascend upward. This is the unique feature of ledum. Then anyone is coming with the pain that and saying that pain is going from leg to head, or from hand to neck, or from neck to head. This is the really first grade symptom of the ledum, and ledum is working really good.
And many people use it for Rocky Mountain spotted fever here in America specifically. We're going to move on to poisoning from gas leaks. And this is a major problem when there's flooding, when there's earthquakes, when the infrastructure breaks. And especially we have in New York City the subway system, the underground structure is not working properly. So we have three major remedies. One we've already mentioned, opium. So not only is it good for shock, for injury, for painlessness specifically, but here we have the person could be in a stupor. There's stasis, so there's a very bad constipation. And you can imagine opium, where the remedy originates from the poppy plant, and what happens to the body in this situation. Homeopathically, it can alleviate the problems. The person really complains about nothing, they want nothing, and they have a lack of reaction. It is a well-chosen remedy for the person for when something else is making no impression. And of course, paralysis. So paralysis, like the constipation, your bowels are not working. Opium is the remedy for that. Snoring, deep, heavy sleeping, a red face, and the eyes are, that stupor is the eyes are half closed. And you might think about baptisia also in a similar case. Dr. Deepak, we have belladonna and aconite.
Aconite. Yes, aconite is again a good remedy for gas leakage. The symptom is anxiety, panic, suddenness, marked heat and fever, alternate with chills, heat and flushing of face, pupils constricted, restlessness, thirst for cold drinks, cold extremities, and often great anxiety and fear of death. Even he can explain the time of the death also. They feel worse from exposure to dry cold wind in the evening and at night in warm room. When rising up bed, they feel better in always in open air. He always thirsty, and aconite we are using for the disturbance in the circulation of blood. That is the main theme of aconite and belladonna for both. Turmoil of circulation is the theme. And if we are talking about the belladonna, belladonna is a ready face, sudden high fever, flushing of the face. They may come with a sudden high fever, known for the symptom of strep, throat, and scarlet fever. The person describes their pains as throbbing and pulsating. That I mentioned that it is a turmoil in circulation. Circulation is disturbed in both remedies, that is aconite and belladonna. They notice the flushed red color of the face and skin, the heat of the body, the glaring eyes, and throbbing carotids. Carotid are the basically arteries which are palpable just lateral to the trachea on the both sides. This person shows an excited mental state, very sensitive to noise, anxiety, delirium, restless sleep, and convulsive movements. They complain of mouth and throat dryness with aversion to water plus neuralgia. Neuralgia is basically pain in nerves, and the patient is feeling that I am having the pain but with no pathology, no lump or no injuries. The neuralgia is known as pain in nerves.
I also want to send some gratitude to Dr. Rajneesh Sharma, who has also helped with many of the pieces of information about the remedies and the rubrics, and we'll have more information from him. I also want to make a note here as we're reading the Belladonna that keynotes as to whether a person is thirsty or not thirsty makes a difference in your selection of which remedy to use. So in this case, Belladonna is not thirsty, as far as I know. Maybe they're thirsty too. And they have this dryness with aversion to water. So it's not thirsty. And if you have a remedy kit, every home should have a remedy kit. So in case of emergency, in there you're going to find a little scrib note or cheat sheet or, little notes about all of the remedies. So you know the keynotes. What is it that is going to be the highlight that you're going to see in an acute situation that's going to come out and hit you in the face? You're going to see whether the person is looking like they're delirious, if they're hallucinating, if they're flushed, if their pupils are dilated, if they have a dry mouth, what is happening to them? These are things that you can learn over time to recognize, so it helps you to make the selection. Okay, the next slide we have is about hyperthermia due to hypothermia due to hyperthermia due to cold, wet weather. Of course, you need to take, in all of these situations, you need to take general emergency precautions that you would learn from the Red Cross. You need to know what to look for. You need to call an emergency squad first. First you call 911, and then you deal with what needs to be done, because once you start taking care of somebody, they're going to take all of your time in an emergency. So first get help, or ask somebody to get help. And here we have hyperthermia. You do want to stay warm, but what are the things that homeopathy can help with?
The main medicines for the hypothermia is antim-tartarigum. Antim-tartarigum is the chemical salt made from the antim-tart and the silver compounds. The blood symptoms are the blood runs cold, everything cold, blue, pale, cold sweat. The patient is feeling that sweating all around, but the sweating is cold, shivering, trembling of the extremities, muscle ache and pains, drowsiness, lungs. It's a good remedy for lungs. Listen for rattling, mucus in the chest that cannot cough out. This is the main symptom of antim-tartarigum. Basically, the chest is sounding like that. This is the main feature of the antim-tartarigum. The lungs is always disturbed. Their crypts are always present. Wheezing is there, and both lungs have a unequal inspiration and expirations. That is a feature of antim-tartarigum.
Okay, so the keynote for that antimonium tart is the lungs, the rattling in the lungs. And then we have arsenicum album, really wonderful remedy in so many instances. In food poisoning, it is well known. The person has an abnormally low body temperature in terms of hyperthermia. They are shivering, their lower jaw is trembling. They have mental disorientation and clumsiness. The body temperature drops, and they could, because of that, have irregular breathing as the breathing slows down. Their skin can now look pale, blue, and they would have a feeling of numbness. This also comes in as a help for frostbite, for gangrene, when the limb now is not getting any circulation of blood. They feel icy cold, and no matter what you do to get them blankets and whatever, they might still feel very, very cold. Or on the opposite end, they could feel burning hot inside, even though outside they're freezing. And the last one, Agaricus muscarius, the poison mushroom. This one is known for the mountain climbers. They take it up with them to the Himalayas because it is one for frostbite and chilblains. The sensations that they feel when they come across this is stinging and itching sensations in the toes and the feet. They have swelling, burning, redness, and cramping. They also could have, in terms of the heart, irregular heart palpitations, which can take place when the hyperthermia has progressed further. They are worse for open, cold air, worse after eating, and worse before a storm. For them, slow movement feels better. And that is similar to what you would note for pulsatilla, another remedy that feels better walking outside slowly in the air. Pulsatilla needs air, similar to carbo-veg. So those are 3 remedies, and I want to let you know, if you're listening, there may be 25, 50 or more remedies for all of these conditions. We're just giving you a few of the basic remedies to begin studying and learning for many situations. The next thing that we're going to talk about is mold and skin fungus, because you're going to see that in these conditions, it's very dangerous. People have to knock out their walls. If they have had flooding on 4 to 8 feet of water is covering their basement or their first floor or even higher floors. I've seen pictures of people walking on their rooftops. They have lost their homes and everything is soaking wet. And this is going to be the perfect condition for molds to begin growing on the walls and on the things. They have to get rid of it. They have to knock out the walls. And as the flood waters go down, they're going to have to get some, if they can, some heat dryers, some massive generators in there to dry out what they have. And this can also apply to mold and overgrowth on their skin. So people are familiar with, what's it called on their feet? Fungus, but there's a word for it. So, just like, cheese. No, not cheese. It's something that like swimmers get, athlete's foot. Oh. Athlete's foot or other kind of groin fungus and things like tinea. Is that what it is? Tinea.
Tinea.
So these are funguses that the body, we're like a plant. We're going to grow stuff. We're the perfect medium if we're warm and wet. And so this is something we also have to be cautious about. Dr. Sharma, would you like to talk about the nosodes? Yes.
Basically, nosodes are the homeopathic preparation of organic material derived from the inactivated disease product. I repeat, these are the organic materials derived from the inactivated disease product. So never think that these are from the disease product and they will produce the disease. Never think. And the cultures of the microorganisms that, for example, bacteria, fungi, or viruses, or parasites, infected or pathologically changed material, or decomposition products from humans or animals, rendered safe during the homeopathic manufacturing process. These are the 100% safe potencies, and these are called the nosodes. We are calling in homeopathy.
And there are so many of them that it wasn't possible for us to list them all in a 1-hour show. Go ahead.
The nosodes are basically the tuberculinum, the medullarium, the periolinum. These are the specific nosodes we are using very frequently in India, and there are many more nosodes also.
Yes, there are many that are specific to the type of contagious infectious disease or the fungus or mold. I came across this remedy, Taxus brevifolia, which is the Pacific yew tree, it provides anti-cancer, antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral, plus anti-inflammatory properties. I found it from a veterinarian who's using it for animals. And you imagine, animals are out there barefooted, and so they're going to get stuff on their body a lot more easily than humans unless we've got a condition like this. So the main feeling, and this is the beauty of homeopathy, that not only do we address the physical symptoms, but we're looking at the mental, emotional symptoms. There's no other system of medicine that addresses all of these levels. It says the main feeling is not being in reality. They are detached. They are not present. These people are averse to conversation. They can be forgetful, and they have impaired concentration. They are even averse to external stimuli. So if you try to touch them, they can have dreams of terror, violence, abuse, and anxiety. So you see how well it could work potentially for PTSD. One of the things that I read, it said they fall asleep at school. And they also have physical symptoms. Now, this is just a quick highlight, a quick synopsis. There are probably pages and pages written about the potential for the Pacific yew tree, Taxus brevifolia, in a homeopathic potency. And then the last thing that I put up there, Dr. Sharma, is about the fears.
Yes, that then you are saying about the specialty of homeopathy is the consideration of mental symptoms also. Then we are considering here about the fears, phobia in general, and when in the infection, the medicine, the arsenicum, the borax, the bufo, calendula, carcinosin, lachesis, sulfur, syphilinum, thusa. These are all the homeopathic remedies we are using in the fears. The best remedy that I am using is the arsenic. Arsenicum alum is really a good set for the fear in general in the infections.
Okay, so if you look at the slide, it's going to tell you that the list of remedies for phobia and fear, this specifically fear of infection, the top one that's listed in the repertory is Calcarea carbonicum. And I also want to make another note, and this is really important to hear. For those who, like myself, I am not living in the area of devastation. I might read it in the news a lot. I might hear it on the radio. I might watch it on the TV. I am being impacted as much, well, not as much as the people in the devastated area, but it's a communal experience. This is something that is getting into our spiritual self, our psyche, our mentality. We have compassion. We feel for these people. And a lot of these people may be, is this correct? I didn't look it up. Is Calcarea carb another remedy for people who can't watch the news because it impacts them so greatly?
Yes, basically Calcutta carb is always an emotional patient, and he always fear about the health regarding issues. He always have a fear about the infections, and he always fear about the cancers also. Many times we are using in the symptom fear of cancer. The Calcutta carb is a great first aid remedy.
Right. So you can see that a person can have all kinds of fears. I mean, if you're living in New York City, you could fear rats from the subway coming up. And it was one of the first things that I thought about, that when there was a flood, where are all the rats going to go? And then they carry so many diseases. So you could be afraid of disease. You could be afraid of falling. You could be afraid of drowning. There's so many things that we have documented in the repertories to look up. We're going to go to the next slide about intestinal upset from contaminated drinking water. It said in the report on the news, according to the New York City Department of Health, it is safe to drink tap water in an area with flooding. Sewage overflows usually do not affect water supplies in New York City. But it's a case-by-case issue. Some local water utilities in New Jersey and Connecticut are under a boil water advisory. But if you see or smell something odd about the water, don't drink it. Remember, use your sense of smell for even gas leaks. And I did read a major report that I think it was Kiwanis, Long Island. Their sewage has flooded over the entire area, the entire community. They cannot drink the water, and so you do need to boil it. It's a good idea to leave the area if you possibly can. Find family support, find friends, get somebody to help you. Don't try and do it yourself. We have the major remedy for food poisoning. No matter what, if you've gone to Montezuma's Revenge, if you've traveled to a place that you're not familiar with the bacteria in the water, if you are in an area where there's amoebic dysentery, if you have gone to a restaurant and gotten E. coli because the workers didn't wash their hands, number one remedy, arsenicum album. You're going to find the symptom is vomiting and diarrhea simultaneously. And I think we've described arsenicum album before about the restlessness, fear of dying. It's a really bad situation, but arsenicum album is like a miracle worker. Okay, Dr. Sharma,
Yes.
podophyllum, and
Yes.
maybe
As
you'll throw in aloe.
The podophyllum is a remedy like lycopodium. A small amount of food satisfied, followed by nausea, forcible dark green vomiting. The dark green vomitings are come from the infection in the liver, can show about the infections. Thirst with putrid taste in mouth, from acids in stomach and heartburn. He always feels the acidity and feeling in the burning in the middle of the chest. Heat and throbbing pain in the stomach, followed by the diarrhea. Nausea transverse colon. His nausea transverse colon means the rumbling of the sound from the left upper side of abdomen, occurring or worse about 3 a.m. That is the specific point. It is occurring or worse about 3 a.m. in the morning, followed by diarrhea. Colic relieved by warmth and by bending forward while lying on the side, similar to colocin colic. I am repeating about the colic. The colic means the abdominal pain. The abdominal pain is relieved by the warm things and by bending forward. These are the another symptom of the colocin also. The colocin then can be used if the symptom is considered about the forward bending ambulation.
Colocynth, is that bitter cucumber? I think
Yes,
it is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead to poisoning from rotten food. And I've already mentioned arsenicum album as the number one remedy that I reach for first whenever that happens. It's also a hay fever remedy. It's also good for many other symptoms, for fears, restlessness, coldness, when the eyes and nose are streaming from all sorts of irritations, bland discharge from the nose, burning discharge from the eyes. And it's a good remedy to counter the effects of tear gas. You can see how all of these remedies are going to have overlapping for different conditions. How about baptisia? I think I might have written corpse reviver. That's carbo-veg. I might have a mistake on there, but baptisia also, would that be good for poison food?
Yes, it is really good, and it is always used in typhoid fever.
Typhoid
the
fever.
Infections, yes, and typhoid is the fever from the gastrointestinal tract. The infections, corpus reviewers, symptom of faintness, collapse, exhaustion, chilliness, cold sweat, gasping of air, wanting to be faint, flatulency of distension, heart failure, blue or molted skin, but the main symptom of the baptisia is the slight heaviness in the middle of the abdomen with loose motions and with loss of appetite. These are the basic red line symptom of the baptisia tinctura.
Okay, and we have cecal cornutum for hypothermia, infection, also food poisoning, and mold. Is it corn smut? I think that's what cecal is, or cecale. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. The person again, cecale, and does not want covering, even though the body feels cold to the touch. Do you remember, Ledham? I think that was very similar. The person feels warm inside. The limbs will feel icy and cold and appear blue, shriveled, bend backward or spread apart, and numb. And so you need to differentiate these remedies. So we know Ledham has the pain moving, ascending upward. Cecale may not have that symptom. And lastly, we have a whole gamut, a list of remedies for the rotten food poisoning, and also for anthrax infection and poisoning. So anthrax potentized as a remedy, is that considered a no-sode, Dr. Sharma?
Anthrax is not a no-sode. I think it's a sarcode.
A sarcode. Okay. So you can see there's a whole list, and we're going to just move on because we have just a little bit of time to go. We're going to go to infections from a variety of sources, because you're going to note that because of the flooding, because of the hurricanes, because of the damage to property, and the inability for people to have basic needs of survival. People don't have water. They're complaining they don't have gasoline. They can't get anywhere. People are walking on foot miles. They're sludging through mud. They're sludging through feet of sand that's covered into their homes up to the next floor. I mean, the pictures are just amazing to see that infections can easily occur. Let's say you have a cut and you have an open wound. What are you going to do? And homeopathic remedies can assist the body's natural healing ability. So we have Aristoclea clematis. And here in North Carolina, the clematis blooms all summer. They're gorgeous. It's a gorgeous vine. It is in the same family as Pulsatilla, and it is known for afterbirth pains, for PMS, all the syndrome of PMS, premenstrual syndrome that you know about, the irritability, the pains, also for anorexia. Here I've just listed a whole bunch of things that this one remedy is covered in the Materia Medica, like the Encyclopedia of Homeopathy, for arthritis, for bedwetting, for bronchitis, chills, colic, for cystic mastitis, cystitis, depression, dysmenorrhea, eczema. So here, eczema, you're thinking about a skin infection, enteritis, insomnia, laryngitis, mastitis. So you're going to hear all these itises, these inflammations, kidney infections, neuritis, rheumatism, spasmodic colitis, sinusitis, and the eyes are watering and aggravated by light, by reading. There's the sensation of burning and itching. And again, you can compare this remedy, clematis, to 3 other remedies, Pulsatilla, calendula, which everybody knows as a cream or a gel for outside the skin, and Rhus toxicodrin that we know for poison ivy, and worse by wet weather, worse by rain. So that is a lot of information we're giving you today. Dr. Sharma, what about silica?
Yes. First, I want to say about the anthracnum. Anthracnum is a no-sode.
Okay.
We are talking about. Okay, and when we are talking about the infections from a variety of sorts, and the silica is using when the eyes and nose are streaming from some sort of irritant, bland discharge from the nose, burning discharge from the eyes, a good remedy to counter the effects of tear gas. That is the silicia.
And I usually call it silica or silicia or silicia, whatever. It's the same thing. It is. It comes from sand. Is that right?
Yes, it's right.
And this is a mineral. It's a very fundamental part of our body, of all plants. It gives them strength. It holds them up. It is one of the top remedies for vaccinosis if you've had side effects from a vaccine. It's a clearing remedy. It strengthens children as they're growing. And so this is just a general, even as a cell salt for the bones. It's a wonderful, wonderful remedy.
We're not talking about the stuff that comes in the little packets.
Yes, the stuff that comes in the little packets, that silica, that's drying agent. Right. That is it. But you don't ever eat the crude form. You're going to be having the potentized form. And as a side note, Dr. Hahnemann, the founder of homeopathy, said that we can take these remedies in a number of ways. We can take them by mouth, sublingually, under the tongue. We can rub them, like if the person is like not doing well, you can rub it into the skin. You could dab it on the lips, and you can even take it by sniffing it by the odor of the energy. It is energy medicine. This energy medicine, like sunlight that is so healing, it can reach you if it is the right resonance, if it's the proper remedy for you. And how about the carbonium sulfuratum, which is a very powerful remedy?
Yes. The carbonium sulfuratum is a medicine for toxic, confused, or disordered states, ill effects of coal gas. The patient thinks and answers slowly. Unlike baptisia, these results from toxicity, chemical exposure, or unclean body rather than infection or sepsis. The carbonium sulfuricum is heavy out with confusions of the mind. This may be accompanied by lightning, like a jarring pains, sudden visual disturbance, color blindness, or skin eruptions, breathing difficulty, emphysema, asphyxia. Asphyxia is basically difficult in respiration from alcohol or coal gas, oversensitive to noise, expiration hot, breathing difficulty, stitches and burning in chest, quickly passing over but frequently returning. Carbonium sulf is also having the perspiration from the soles, and he has around perspiration around the neck. Also, these are the symptoms of carbonium sulfuratum.
So you can see we've listed many, many remedies. It gets complicated. It's best to contact a personal homeopath, a professional who is experienced, who has been in the trenches, who has used these remedies, who can know immediately what to do as you recall what you see and observe in the patient, in the person, what is going on with that person. You're going to, in an acute situation, you're going to know right away what the highlight of the person is. And I want to go to the next slide, which is about camphora. I just read another article from Dr. Srinivasa Rao, who I quoted earlier. Camphora has been used historically in epidemics. Camphora is when the whole body feels icy cold. The blood pressure is low. The pulse is small and weak. The sensation of sudden sinking of strength. Like Sakali, the patient does not like covers. The mouth, the tongue, and the breath are cold with numbness, tingling, cramping, especially in the calves. So I imagine that if somebody's having the calves cramping, that's going to be a key indication for you. The person will feel cold to their touch. And then there are other remedies that you want to compare with camphor. People know camphor as mothball. People know camphor as mothballs, as to keep the moths away when they're securing their blankets and their sweater, their winter clothes. You want to compare that to cuprum, which also has cramping, and veratrum alpum, which also is similar to arsenicum, where you have tremendous weakness, pale, waxy skin, and deathly feeling. So I'm going to do one quote here from Dr. Rao, who says, gastroenteritis after flood requires camphor 200C potency. Quote, it should be given once in a week for 3 successive weeks to prevent the disease, which is common after the floods. So he is a member of the National Advisory Board, IIHP, in Hyderabad, India, and camphor has been used historically in these situations. Also, you're hearing homeoprophylactic recommendation from Dr. Rao. Did you want to say anything else about camphor? And then we're going to do the next slide, which is 15.
No. We go to the next slide.
Okay. So we're just going to follow up with a couple more really great remedies to think about and have in your knowledge basket. Euphrasia. This is eyebright. Eyebright, maybe you've read some stories about eyebright. When the eyes and nose are streaming from some sort of irritant, there's a bland discharge from the nose, bland, and burning discharge from the eyes. And it's a good remedy also for the effects of tear gas. And we usually compare that with the next remedy, Dr. Sharma, allium cepa.
The next remedy is allium cepa. When the medicine for the eyes and nose are streaming from some sort of irritant, burning discharge from the nose, bland discharge from the eyes, a good remedy to counter the effect of tear gas. The allium cepa is also really good when the discharge is excoriating and when the skin is irritated with the discharge. And the next remedy is calendula. This is a wonderful remedy to heal every eruption to heal the externally. It heals the cuts, it heals the wounds, scratches, promotes healing, and reduces the risk of infections. Use the mother tincture diluted on skin or as a potentized pellets. Both are working very well.
Right.
The next remedy is China officinalis and China arsenicum. China officinalis is always used for the relief, complete exhaustion, and debility that follows the loss of body vital fluids such as vomitings, blood, perspiration, and diarrhea. For them, we are using the China officinalis or the China arsenic. The difference is in between is the China is a cold medicine, and whereas the China arsenicum is a hot remedy. The patient is always feeling heat, more heat inside the body. That is the symptom of China arsenicum.
Thank you. And China officinalis is known for malaria, I believe, as a cure-all for malaria. And the loss of body fluids, this sometimes you might hear somebody say to you, I have never been well since that influenza. I have never been well from that bout of diarrhea. When they say that, even if it's years ago, it still has weakened their vital force, and it's possible that China might be the remedy that will bring them back to a better condition. We have covered a lot of it. Do you want to say something?
No. You just continue with it.
We have covered a tremendous amount of information, and we want to just tell folks. Oh, we had a question from the chat here. Dr. Sharma, Farzanet is asking about the potency to be used for silicea.
The best potency is 30. 30C is the best potency. And if you are getting the infected pus, then the silicea 6S is always good.
Okay. And also in terms of giving remedies or taking remedies, the more acute the situation, most likely the more frequently they would be given. So even in 15 minutes or 30 minutes or every few hours, if you see the remedy is working, it's possible to repeat it again and to get that energy back. If it is not, that remedy that you've chosen is not working after 4 to 8 times, I would say you need to move on and look at some other remedies, get help. It's also good, I will remind you to have a kit. We have on Homeopathy World Community a number of places where you can get the kit. From Miranda Castro's shop, she has a 10% discount. From Mary Aspinwall's Homeopathy World website, or your local store in Whole Foods, wherever you are, or your homeopath might be giving it to you. Contact the emergency rescue squad first. Go to the emergency room and see a physician if you're in an acute emergency situation. I want to give the medical, legal, and health disclaimer for this show, for all of our shows, for the websites. HWC is providing open discussion on contemporary issues of concern. All this information is educational for your welfare. All HWC-affiliated websites are not providing medical consultation service. Any information or opinion expressed is provided only to supplement information provided by your healthcare professionals. It is not intended as a substitute for conventional medical care. Any use of the information is by user's discretion, and HWC disclaims any and all liability arising directly or indirectly from the use or application of this information. And of course, I am passionate about homeopathy. Dr. Sharma, this is his life. 7 clinics and now a voluntary clinic for the public. We know for ourselves and our family and our friends, it works.
It does.
There you go. You've got a testimonial there from Amnon, our producer. We love him. We want to thank him so much for being able to provide this platform for this information, creating waves of awareness. We have gone a little bit beyond our regular hour. And if, should I ask if he wants to call in for anything? Okay, Dr. Farzana, if you want to call in and say a couple of words while we wait for you to call in. Dr. Sharma, did you have something to say?
Yes, I'm want to say about the life-saving drugs of homeopathy. The life-saving drugs in homeopathy is number 1 aconite, number 2 arsenicum, and number 3 is carbovegetabilis. These are the 3 medicine everyone need to keep them in the house every time.
Very
that is
good.
My suggestion. These are the 3 are the life-saving drugs in homeopathy.
Right. And we know that in the near future, the regular medical profession is going to start to turn their head and look to us, look at what homeopathy can do for epidemics, for contagious disease, for reviving the vital force, for getting us boosted up so that we can fulfill our mission in life and do the best that we can.
I mean, Yvonne is asking what
Yes, definitely.
I don't know about what.
Yvonne, what is your question? Carboveg, aconite, and arsenicum album. I would assume just 30C. What's in your remedy kit is going to work for you. Do you agree, Dr. Sharma? 30. We had a question from Yvonne about potency on the 3 top remedies that you just listed. Is 30C in your kit? Would that suffice?
I prefer 200C.
Okay. So he goes a little bit higher to go in there more deeply. And this is through a person who has a lot of experience. Okay.
I am always using it in 200C, and really good.
Okay, so next Monday, I don't even know what we're going to be talking about, but it will be great. And on Wednesday, if you have not been listening to Blog Talk Radio, Homeopathy World Community, you need to tune in. Dr. Adil Chimthalawala Qasim is the greatest. He answers your question live. He answers questions from all around the world. He is a cardiologist who knows just about everything. We talk about philosophy. We talk about theory. We talk about actual practicality, and he has so many stories to tell. On Thursday, we have Alan Phillips, who is attorney at law and the leading vaccine and exemption rights attorney in the United States. He knows his stuff. He is on top of current events, what's going on with vaccinations in our world, in the United States. Tune in. He gets at least 1,000 listeners to every show, and that's what we really want to do here. Oh, we have Yvonne. We will have part 2 on vaccinations. I'm not sure. Oh, did we do vaccinations last week? Yeah, we did. So we had Kate Birch. If you want, we have all the archives. Kate Birch and Scylla Watcott did a special on vaccinations, and we have a request from Yvonne to have them back on again. We'll have to do that. Okay. Creating waves of awareness. Let's do it. Share. Thank you, Dr. Sharma. We love you. We love you, Amnon. And all of our friends out there on Facebook and Twitter. Yay. Until next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Happy Veterans Day. Happy Diwali Day.
Happy Diwali to you. Happy Diwali, Amnon.
Same to you.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays 9 a.m. to noon. Health In with Debby Bruck, Mondays 11 a.m. to noon. The Scope of Things with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 7 to 8 p.m. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 8 to 9 p.m. Body Talk with Cindy Prince, first Tuesdays 8 to 9 p.m. Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, Wednesdays 8 to 9 p.m. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.